Welcome to the Gals Guide to the Galaxy podcast, where a group of gals gather for you one cool thing around our topic of the month. Is it ancient history? Is it breaking news? Is it safe for work? Well, that's up to each gal. All we know is that...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Welcome back. I'm Amy, and I'm joined by Bonnie and Leah talking about our one cool librarian gal. Last week, I talked about Anne Carroll Moore and her wooden doll, Nicholas Nickelbacker.
Yes.
But before we dive back in, Leah's going to tell us what's going on with the Gals Guide calendar for this week.
That's right. So for week 3 of March, for March 20th through the 26th, on Wednesdays we write. So join us at the Gals Guide Library on Wednesday at 4:30 for Writers Galaxy. It's a wonderful time for writing and connecting with other writers. On March 23rd, actually, I think that's the wrong date. Because book club doesn't meet until the 31st. So we'll talk about that later in the month. But on March 25th, though, there's a whole bunch of cool stuff that are happening. So the first one that is happening is Tara Circle. So Tara Circle is our book study of Wisdom Rising by Lama Tsultrim Alioni. It is gloriously on Zoom, so register so you get that link. Our second event on March 25th is the launch of the 2023 Gals Guide Anthology. So there are 33 authors in this year's book, 44 different entries, and they're from around the world, and they are incredible stories. They are about journeys. So they're inward journeys, they're outward journeys, and there are stories from around the world. So Ireland, England, Kenya, India, Israel, Mauritius, which I had to look up what country that was, Canada, and all over the United States. So many of the authors who are localish will be at the Gals Guide Library on March 25th from 2 to 4, signing copies of the book. So celebrate these amazing artists and come get your copy of the Gals Guide Anthology. So it'll be great. So for all of our calendar events, check out galsguide.org. So now, Amy, I hear you have a random question for us.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So, imagine you walk into a library.
Yes.
Which any library if you're choosing. It can be all wood, it can be modern, whatever. And one of the bookshelves is a Murphy door, and you open it. What is behind that door?
What's behind the door, Bonnie? I feel like I know Bonnie's answer, but I want to know.
I was going to say greenhouse.
What?
But I feel
the world is new.
like a reading nook greenhouse thingy.
That would be lovely.
It'd be nice and warm.
Yes.
But there could also be some puppies.
Yes! Yeah! I knew it would be puppies. That's what I felt like in my heart. Bonnie's answer would be, you open a door, what's behind there? Puppies. Which then my second is, who's been taking care of them while they're behind the door? Is somebody in there with the puppies? But I do love the idea of a wild greenhouse abandonment with puppies just roaming around in it.
They'd love it too.
Mm-hmm. That would be
Roll in the dirt.
fantastic. Exactly. Fertilizing it, if you will. Oh, amazing. It's always one of those questions because that I love, because Gals Guide eventually one day when we get into a bigger space wants to have the secret door, but we just don't know what to put behind it. So it's kind of like, let's just ask until we can actually do a secret door. We'll just keep the question going. I always imagine kind of a planetarium, but kind of you know what I mean? The glow stickers of the stars on, or, black light where it, just something where you can sit down and you can feel like you're outside, but you're still inside. So therefore it doesn't matter if it's a rainy day or sunny day or cold outside or whatever, that you have this little kind of it would be that space thing that Bonnie always digs to, a little space room.
Space,
so you could read.
trees,
Yes, exactly.
A puppy.
And a puppy. Always, a puppy.
one.
Yes, totally. Yes. Amy, what would yours be? What would be behind your Murphy door?
Okay, so my first gut reaction is, as always, whenever any secret door opens, is Narnia.
Oh, all of Narnia. Yes, right there.
But
absolutely.
But if I can't go, and I have been trying since I was a small child.
Right. Keep the dream alive.
Yeah. If I can't go, then it would be the restricted section, of course, wouldn't it?
I
Wouldn't
like
it be? It would be all the
that.
dangerous books, like
yes.
of whatever you think is dangerous.
Like
whether-
basically the cool kids room?
Yeah, like whether it's, I don't know,
right.
weapons or all the sex books or,
Right. Whiskey drinks.
spells, drinks.
Yes.
But yes, it's
All of it.
Definitely if there's a secret room, you open it up. And
Divine decadence.
yeah, speakeasy. I don't know. Whatever's back there, you aren't supposed to be there.
Yes, I like that.
Or you're only supposed to be there if you know it's a secret door. You got to do the
Mhm.
knock. You got to pull down the statue head. I don't know what you do, but
Yes, right.
But yes, whatever's back there is restricted to a certain amount of people, and it's all the secret books.
I do like that. I learned about a speakeasy that in New York that is from the entrance is a telephone booth.
Oh, I
And so
love
the
that.
telephone booth is actually inside, and it's
Mhm.
inside like a hotel or something.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, oh, that's a neat little old school telephone
Oh,
booth.
cute.
But if you punch in a certain number on the keypad, like you're making a phone call, then the side door opens and it's a speakeasy.
Oh,
Nice.
It's really cool. And you can get little business cards that have the phone number on it, so then you
Yeah.
can invite people to punch in the phone code. And I'm like,
Mm.
I know, right?
I know.
Exactly.
I've always wanted to go somewhere secret or like a secret party where you have to have a,
I always
the
wanted to-
knock
Yes.
or whatever.
Mhm.
you
I always
know.
wanted to have a secret society. Like I'm
Yes.
still eventually working on starting a secret society, but I
Yeah.
need to stop talking
Or
about
you could
it,
have
or it
one
won't
right
be a
now. What do
secret.
we know?
I know,
What's the
right?
line between secret society and cults, though?
I know, and I got to be very delicate. And I think if I keep it weird, I'll be okay.
As long as there's not a leader,
Oh yeah, that's true.
then it's not
Right?
a cult.
Sure. Yes.
It's just
Join
people
us.
doing secret things.
Doing secret things.
With petting puppies.
Yeah.
What if it's a puppy petting cult? Is that okay? I'm like, we're asking
Sounds
Ronnie's
weird.
permission for what kind of cult I can start. I mean, secret society. I'm just playing. But who do you have for us again, Amy?
Well, my cool librarian lady gal
Yes.
is Elizabeth Gray Vining.
Ooh.
And this is somebody who you might know she existed, but don't know her name.
Okay.
Or, I mean, especially if you were more of a boomer age.
Gotcha.
Because she was a very important figure in history.
Gotcha.
But I don't think a lot of people actually knew her name or knew very much about her.
Which doesn't sound familiar, so
No.
yeah.
So she was born in 1902 in Philadelphia.
Born and raised
Yes.
on the playground
She
is where she spent most of her days.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'll stop there.
was. Before she went to...
Child.
Got sent.
Before she got sent to... Okay. She graduated Bryn Mawr.
Ooh, Bryn Mawr.
Oh, yes.
Isn't that a fancy women's college?
Oh, it's very fancy.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
And then she got her master's in library science from Drexel. She got hired at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill.
Oh,
And-
yes.
Yes, and she worked there as an academic librarian.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, she was, working in reference and helping students with their research and all that kind of thing.
Nice. My aunt went to Chapel Hill, so I know it's fancy because she
Chapel
told me
Hill.
it was.
Ooh.
In 1929, she got married. Her husband was a staff member of the university also.
Gotcha.
And she did say that, he was the light of her life. Like,
Aw.
she didn't see clearly until she met him.
Oh, my Lord. That's something that only somebody in the first days of love says.
Yes. And unfortunately, in 1933, they were involved in a terrible car accident.
Oh, no.
No, he did not make it.
Oh, no. That makes the love grow stronger. I wanted her to be like, and then he cheated on her. And I'll be like, that's
No.
life.
No.
Oh, no. He passed
No.
away.
And she was horribly injured.
Oh.
And at the time, she was in convalescence for a very, very long time.
Oh, wow.
During that time, she became a Quaker.
Okay,
Nice.
gotcha. Look at
Yes.
that. Quakers.
I know. Quakers again. Everyone loves a Quaker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
They write a lot of stuff down. They're
Mhm.
really good with history, and they
Mhm.
try to be very, equal about
Yes.
everything. Be like,
Mhm.
well, it seems that that's not Quakerish, but we're still gonna document it.
Exactly. And it really fit with these deep beliefs that she had on pacifism,
Yes.
anti-war. I mean,
Mhm.
it was the 30s, so we're between the wars.
Yeah, we got both wars going. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
And she also really admired their inclusion of women
Yeah.
in both
Leadership.
leadership,
Mhm.
actual like I don't know if Quakers have pastors. I'm not sure. Pastor's
Gotcha.
the word that's in my
Yeah,
mind.
Right.
Something. I think they call them like leaders.
Leaders,
or something.
group leaders.
They're
I'm-
like
Something like that.
something.
I know everybody's like brothers and sisters.
Yes.
That kind of. And so I can't remember. Yeah.
I don't know the correct term. I don't
Gotcha.
know why pastor's in my head, but that's the whatever the equivalent is.
Right. Yeah.
She really felt that their inclusion of women in all areas of the
Mhm.
church leadership was very important,
Yeah.
and it became a very important defining part of her life.
Gotcha.
She
see that.
she herself was very involved in a lot of the Quaker leadership.
Mhm.
Also, during her convalescence, she became a published author.
Ah.
She had been writing since her teens, small things, but she started getting novels published. She wrote for all ages. She wrote fiction and nonfiction. She wrote
Oh.
some inspirational titles, a lot of biographies, but she was probably most famous for her children's book, Adam of the Road. I don't know if anybody remembers that. It's about a
Oh.
medieval boy and his dog, and they're on this
Okay.
big, long walking road trip. It's
Ah.
sort of medieval history, an adventure book.
Not so much like Kid in King Arthur's Court, not by Twain, but more
Yeah, it
a
was
journey story.
yes,
Okay,
very much
gotcha.
about
Okay.
about what life was like during that
Hmm.
time and
Ah.
being a kid, on your own
Mhm.
with your dog.
Right.
Puppies.
I know puppies.
Yes.
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 The theme of the
And
episode.
that actually comes up later.
Poor puppy.
Yes. And Adam of the Road did win a Newbery.
Oh.
And she wrote other children's books during that time, and they were all very popular bestsellers,
Mhm.
the whole thing. After World War II, during the Allied occupation of Japan,
Mhm.
she was the woman selected to tutor Emperor Hirohito's son, the Crown
Oh.
Prince.
Oh wow.
Yes, and that's what she's most known for, of course.
Oh.
She was chosen from a pool of hundreds of educators.
Gotcha.
And a lot of people think that she was chosen by Douglas MacArthur.
Oh, okay.
It was definitely America had a vested interest in shaping Japan, of course,
Right.
post-war.
Mm-hmm.
So her being Quaker and a pacifist, a lot of people felt that perhaps
Gave
that
that
was
neutrality.
that was very
Yeah.
that was very pointed choice, but that's not
Mhm.
true. Hirohito selected her himself.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, she was supposed to
Huh.
go for a year and
Mhm.
just to teach his son English and to also teach him about Western culture. Now,
Mhm.
she wasn't even interested in this. The search, she read about the search, of course, in newspapers and academic journals, but she didn't put her name in. One of the people on the selection team was also in Quaker leadership, and at that time, that was her job as she was working for the Quakers.
Gotcha.
And he said, "What if I put your name in?" And she said, "What?" She didn't expect it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So she really wasn't trying. And then she was chosen. So
That had to be weird.
Yes. So she went overseas
Sure.
in 1946.
Free trip to Japan.
Yes.
It's not weird right now over there.
No. And she actually ended up staying for 4 years instead of 1.
I mean, I would stay forever, but I mean, I'm thinking of current Japan and my love for it. Yes.
Yes. Well, she helped shape that, what it is
Sweet.
today.
Yay!
She arrived at the imperial court, and her original intention, this is a quote from her, was to make some small contribution to the cause of peace among nations.
Aw.
Yes, and she also hoped
Just
that
a
she
small little goal that she's got.
just tiny,
just
world peace.
Just world peace.
Yeah. She also wanted to improve the position of women in Japan.
Yeah.
At that time, she didn't know that Japanese women already had the right to vote.
Mm.
And that first election after the war, they actually elected 13 women to the I guess it's the diet is what the
Gotcha.
parliamentary board was called.
Ah.
Yes. So she came
She's
there
like, well,
at the
that's
right
done.
time because
Mhm.
Japanese
Check.
women were starting to modernize and be
Nice.
there. When she first met the prince,
Mhm.
he was 12. I know. And he comes in the room, and the description of their meeting, she just basically fell in love with this little boy.
Oh.
His head was basically shaved down to a crew cut.
Yeah.
She
Mhm.
kept talking about how it looked soft. You know, she wanted to touch
Fuzzy.
his little buzz cut. You know how you always want to do that for a little boy with a buzz cut.
Absolutely.
And he was, of course, very polite, and he's been raised the crown prince
Right.
of
Yes.
Hirohito, of all people.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
he's had a very sheltered life, and also, you know, I mean, he's, you know, it's like Prince Charles, Prince Harry, I mean, for his country, he was, you know, a rock
hope.
star.
Yeah.
The hope
Mhm.
of the country, and also just a rock star
Yeah.
among boys and girls. I mean, you know, all the girls wanted
Mhm.
to, you know, he was a beautiful boy.
Right.
And she just kind of fell in love with him. She said he had
Mm.
some mischief and humor in his eyes that she could see, and she just really enjoyed meeting him from the day one.
Mhm.
Her
And then
duty,
he became a teenager. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Anyway, yes.
and her duties actually expanded to teaching English to other royal family members.
Oh.
She also taught classes at the private school where Akihito, the crown prince, went.
Gotcha.
And she taught both boys and girls
Nice.
English. And she really enjoyed that. It really wasn't what she was expecting, but then she ended up teaching these group classes. When she got there, she was told that every child in Japan wants to be taught by Miss Vining.
Oh.
Because, of course, you know, it's the prince's teacher.
I know,
I want to get in on that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it was very exclusive. A lot of conservatives in Japan
Mhm.
were very much against it. And there's actually a quote that they felt that Akihito contracted a spiritual and intellectual fungus from her.
Oh, no.
Because of her pacifist ideas.
Right.
But honestly, at the time, even Hirohito wanted peace.
Gotcha.
That is why he chose a Quaker.
That makes sense.
And Akihito also, that's what they wanted for their country. They wanted to restore their country and as a peaceful nation.
Yeah.
She wrote
It's
a book.
good choice.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
And honestly, her books are charming, and she wrote a book about these years of her tutoring called Windows for the Crown Prince. And it is such a charming book. I have not read the whole thing. I started reading it for this podcast, and I was just going to skim it.
Right,
and then
right. And then you start
an hour later, I'm like, I'm not skimming. But I just want to read this one passage about her first day of class when she was teaching an entire class of boys.
Yeah.
And anyone who's taken a foreign language will recognize this. And she said, I marched into Section A the first morning, very calm outwardly, but feeling a bit adventurous within. The boys all stood up. Good morning, boys, I said. Good morning, sir, they replied with one voice. I laughed and they laughed, and I told them that you say sir to a man, but you called a woman by her name. The boys sat down looking very expectant, their black eyes shining. My name is Mrs. Vining, I said, and I turned to the boy who sat at the first desk on the right-hand side. What is your name? He told me. That is your real name, I conceded, but in this class, your name is Adam. So we've all had French class, pick your Spanish name, pick your French name. Well, she said, your name is Adam. He looked surprised, as well he might. Now I announced, I'm going to give you all English names. I went back to the first boy. In this class, your name is Adam. Say Adam. Please say, in this class, my name is Adam. It took a little while to get this idea over, and in the process, we had some practice with pronouns. Your name is Adam, my name is Adam, his name is Adam. I wrote it on the blackboard. Adam wrote it in his notebook. I went on to the next, whose name became Billy. The second boy caught on more quickly, and the third boy jumped up eagerly to get his name. As I worked toward the prince, who sat in the exact center of the room, I could see the others cutting their eyes around at each other, all agog to see what I was going to do about that situation. I reached the prince and said, in this class, your name is Jimmy.
Jimmy.
There was no particular reason for Jimmy, except it just happened to be one of my favorite names. He replied promptly, no, I am Prince.
Oh. My name is Prince. Sorry, that is an actual Prince song.
I
Anyway,
know.
go ahead.
Yes, I agreed cordially. You are Prince Akihito. That is your real name. But in this class, you have an English name. In this class, your name is Jimmy.
Yes.
I waited, a little breathless, to go either way. He smiled cheerfully, and the whole class beamed. I realized he had probably thought that I hadn't recognized him, seeing him for the first time in the whole group of other, Japanese boys, other boys. Mm-hmm. Also, I think that he had been always identified in his own mind with his princeship and was unable at first to think of himself as a boy among other boys.
Oh, that's lovely.
She called him Jimmy for the rest of her life.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
Jimmy.
That was her Jimmy. And
cute.
And they grew very close.
Yeah.
And she had to teach him a lot of just sort of Western etiquette, but also just at that point in his life, how to be a boy and a crown prince at the same time.
Yeah, true.
She did say that when she first got there, like his only interest was fish, and she really wanted to expand that. He loved fishing, and he also loved tennis.
Ah, okay.
He met his wife actually on a tennis court. She was a commoner, and she's the first commoner ever married into the Japanese royal family.
Look at that.
I really recommend a book called Commoner by John Swartz. It's about her and the parallels between like kind of what Prince Harry's wife is going through now.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
It is exactly
Meghan Markle.
the same thing. Yes.
Yes.
I started saying Meryl Markham or whatever. I don't know what I was saying. But
tongue twisters.
Yes. But she was hated by the press. Her mother-in-law could not stand her.
This is starting to sound familiar.
Yes. It was so difficult, and but they just loved each other, and they ended up reigning so long he actually retired instead of dying, and he gave the emperorship to his son.
Oh wow.
She also in the book details the bewilderment Japanese had trying to learn democratic principles.
Because they don't make sense here either.
No. She describes a lot of Japanese customs at the time. I read a chapter where she took a flower arranging class that was just the most adorable thing ever written.
Ikiban?
Yes.
Yes, there we go. Yeah.
Yes. She wrote about the Crown Prince's first meeting with Douglas MacArthur, which he handled himself so well that MacArthur came to Elizabeth later and just said, like, I'm so, I'm so impressed with this boy. I think you did a great job. I think he's doing well, the whole thing. And she also talks about the Japanese reaction to the Korean War in 1950. That is when she eventually had to go home.
Gotcha.
They did stay friends throughout her entire lifetime.
Aww.
She did return to the U.S., and when she got back, instead of returning to the library, she just kept writing. The book Windows for a Crown Prince became a bestseller, and she was really famous for it, and she just kept writing other books for the rest of her life. She also stayed working closely in the Quaker community. She always had a part of the leadership there. She always had a leadership position, and she was on the board of trustees for Bryn Mawr.
Oh, nice.
The emperor, when he was married, she was the only Westerner that was allowed to attend his wedding.
Oh, look at that.
He also visited Clinton in the White House in 1994.
Gotcha.
He invited her to come, but she just wasn't physically able to. She said she was sorry, but they talked a long time on the phone.
Oh, there you go.
She passed in 1999.
Oh, gotcha.
But I really recommend this book, Windows to the Crown Prince. It's in public domain, so you can get it anywhere as an ebook.
Right.
If you can't
Gutenberg
find it,
sort of thing.
Yeah, if you can't find it,
we'll have to see if we
print
have it
anywhere.
If not, get it, yeah.
It's so charming. She writes with such great detail, and she talks a lot about things that don't seem important but really are. When she first meets Hirohito's wife, she talks a lot about her clothing.
Oh, okay.
Because she expected her to be in like a formal Japanese kimono and obi, but instead she wore a modern dress that had like kimono sleeves and like a smaller thin belt. And she was talking about how she was, surprised at this. It was kind of a big event of meeting, her son's tutor. And, the first Western tutor that's
Right.
been there,
Exactly. Yeah.
And she was surprised that, she wasn't in a more formal outfit, that she wore, westernized
Right.
style.
Maybe she was trying. Yeah, maybe she was
Yes.
trying to be more
Mhm.
westernized style.
And to say, look,
yeah.
we are modern. It's
Right.
it's okay. We're modern.
Mhm.
You can be yourself. You can be modern. And she was very close to all the brothers and sisters in the royal family.
Aw.
And I don't know. I just think the book was really interesting. And I had read The Commoner last year. So
Mhm.
I already had a lot of feelings about Akihito
Yeah.
and his wife and their family. He actually was a very kind emperor. I mean, his position was a lot more just flagship.
Yeah, I can't
at the
remember what you call
time.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
He wasn't
Ceremonial,
Really, he
yeah.
wasn't really in power, but
Mhm.
his message of peacefulness always stayed
Mhm.
with him. He really tried to bridge the more conservative and liberal sides together in a lot of different ways. He was very diplomatic.
Yeah.
People loved him. He and his wife, they were kind of the first modern emperors. Like, they would go ice skating together and hold hands. It's
Aww.
yeah, and they
relatable.
Yes,
royals.
and they would always walk hand in hand and see the cherry blossoms with just the regular people instead of shutting down an entire park and walking through.
That does sound a lot like Harry and Meghan in kind of today's context-ness. Yeah,
and just kind of the modern royals now, where they are trying to do good and not be these distant king and queens. And a lot of that too, they talk a lot about Diana's influence, and how she was the people's princess, and how a lot of royalty globally was realized this is the way to go. We can be ourselves. We don't have to always be so uptight all the time,
and we can do better with our platform.
Yes.
I mean, that was the one thing I always remembered about Diana, is that she would go to places where you'd be like, wait, that's dangerous, and she'd like, I have to go because people need me. And it's like, I love this.
Akihito did the same thing. He would go to hospitals. He would go to like the leper colonies at the time. He visited not only Hiroshima on the anniversaries, but he visited Okinawa as well, which was kind of a big deal for the royal family to come there.
Yes, to acknowledge. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And so he did a lot of good, and people just loved him. And the royal family now is kind of a mess. The Japanese royal family, they have like the missing princess and the whole they don't really have anybody who's going to succeed, because everybody had daughters. And so it'll be interesting to see how it all part of that is blamed on him and the way he raised them, but also I think it's really interesting. I think it's
an evolution of humankind. So yeah, we'll
really
figure it out.
Interesting. And Elizabeth Vining actually played a part in that. It's hard to know exactly how much, but just her being there for those 4 years between the age of 12 and 16 obviously had a lot on just getting him to relax and be a kid. As well as
those
everything
last
she taught him.
years.
As everything she taught him also about Western culture and just herself. And
oh, that's lovely.
Yes.
Now I want to read her book.
It's so charming. I mean, yes, it's very dated.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But not unkindly, she's open to everything. She's so curious, and it's just charming. I mean, you just want to live in that world for a little bit.
Right, exactly.
With her little boys and girls. And she was asked when she got the job, are you ready to teach a 12-year-old kid? And she goes, I don't know. I've never done it before.
I know, right? Exactly. That kind
She's
of
just
curiosity.
that kind of lady. She's like, yeah, I'll give it a whirl.
Why not?
Yep.
Sounds like fun. Oh, fantastic. Bonnie, did you have any questions?
Oh, I need to figure out what's with this missing princess thing.
I know, right? Exactly. And you want to see if you can be that missing princess? Because I believe in you.
I mean, it could be a Anastasia situation here.
It could be. Does that mean Bartok? Sorry, I went immediately to the Fox animated movie with Bartok and Rasputin, and yes, but an Anastasia situation. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Do you want to wrap it up for us, darling?
Of course. for it.
I know. I feel like now I have a whole bunch of really cool books to read. And I love that problem. It's my favorite problem.
Right? The to be read pile. It's never ending.
It doesn't judge me. It just waits for me.
No, it just- I have mine piled up under the nightstand because the nightstand was full, and I threw a blanket over it because it was just stressing me.
If it's stressing you out, that is yes, exactly. Cover it over.
I just kept getting new. I just kept getting other books, and they were back there, and it's like, just later. I can't look at you. You're making me feel guilty.
Don't make eye contact right now. Don't judge me. I feel you. Yes.
Oh, goodness. Well, that wraps it up for us this week. Join us next week for another cool woman of history as Gals Guide podcast continues. Thank you so much for listening.
Yay! For show notes, links, and images from this week's show, visit galsguide.org. Want exclusive stuff like deleted bits and major bloopers? Become a Gals Guide patron today. Thanks for listening.